Welcome to a very special Tilehurst End podcast episode with myself and Ross as usual. However, we are absolutely delighted today to welcome a man who needs no introduction whatsoever. It's our first team manager, Mr. Ruben Selles. Ruben, thank you so much for joining us on this Monday evening. Firstly, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, and thank you for the introduction. I'm really good after the last match. We have some time, a couple of days off with the boys, and taking some energy just to come back and be even stronger than we have been in the pre-season and the first part of the season.
I know it's we're going to get into that result against Charlton at the weekend a little bit later on, really. But great result and fantastic start to the season, all things considered. Ross, are you very excited about this?
I'm here. Don't worry about me, listeners. Let's get on to the interview and we'll go from there. I will just quickly point out, though, we were obviously super lucky to get to talk to James Oliver Pearce last season as well, which was just great. And James gave a really good interview. So far at the moment, we have a 100% record when a member of the coaching staff comes on the podcast, the afterwards to discuss. So if you guys are ever desperately in need of a win, send someone else to see us, and I think it's guaranteed for you guys.
Nice. We take notes. So do we take a note? So next time we can do
it. Yeah, well, this is it. Before we get started, massive thanks as always to our sponsors, ZCZ Films. Probably the most privileged podcast we've had in recent years to have a first team manager on to discuss all things Reading FC. So we're gonna get right into that. We've got a list of questions for Ruben himself, and Ross and I will just kind of take it in turns to answer those, really, or ask those. Ruben, before we begin, and it's a subject that I'm sure our fans are really desperate to hear from you about. Did you get Oasis tickets at the weekend?
Sorry?
Did you get Oasis tickets at the weekend?
No. I don't like Manchester City fans, so
I
didn't get that one.
Yeah, fantastic. It's brilliant stuff, that. Yeah, well, we didn't either, so we're kind of feeling a bit sad about that.
But I have some members of the technical staff make with the computer for hours, just making the queue and waiting for the number and getting the ticket. So I guess everyone is pretty excited about it. Yeah, no, it's a joke. No, I just make the joke with Gallagher every time because he's such a Manchester City fan that. Yeah.
No, you're right. You're 100% right. There's that amazing football shirt store in Manchester, and they've got like a Man U and a Man City section. In the Man U section, amazing players from all through history and everything. And the Man City section, it's just Noel and Liam Gallagher up on the board. So yeah, I think you're bang on. All right, well, let's get into it then. So yeah, thank you to our friends at ZCZ Films, and we'll be right back after this short break. Sorry, that seemed like a good point, Ben. All right, I'm going to cut this out. You pull it. You get us started off.
Yeah. Okay. Welcome back to a very special edition of the Tilehurst End podcast with myself, Ross, and Ruben. Firstly, we're kind of hot off the heels of a fantastic result against Charlton. A team that hadn't even conceded a goal this season, let alone lost the game. What? In that game, because hopefully still fresh in your memory, what were you kind of looking to exploit against Charlton, and why did we win the game, basically?
Well, first of all, what we are trying to do every game is to be dominant in possession. It's not necessarily overdoing the build up in the early build up, as we call it, or close to the goalkeeper, but also having a good positions for when we can find the connections. Wide center wide, or even diagonal, but also for when we want to need to go long and be secure in the second action. So we thought it was very important that in the build up, in the early build up, using Joel as an extra player and placing our fullbacks in the outside shoulder of the front two that Charlton had, we can actually break the first line of pressure and force somebody to jump, and when that jump comes, we will find what we call the red zone. That's why we find Ben Elliott a lot of times between the lines with time to turn and go, because they needed to jump with a centre back because the sixes or the eights were a little bit out of position. So that's why we try to create those situations, especially with the fullbacks, to create those spaces between the lines to to try to evolve, but also using the couple of spaces for the long ball and second action just to put the positions. We know usually the teams that are coming and pressing against us are very long, are around 55, 60 meters long. So there's a lot of spaces that we need to use. And that was mainly it. And the second point was also in attack when we lose the ball, make a hard counter pressure with a good structure with the two center backs and the ball away fullback to avoid any transition. And then against the ball, we introduce a variation to try to be a little bit more aggressive. Usually we make the pressure with the two wingers, what we call a winger pressure, but we try to introduce the number 9 pressure also, just to don't have time to don't give any time to their middle center back to make a long distribution. I think it worked well. I think worked in our strengths. I think the team is feeling more and more comfort into those areas. Of course, we will have games that are not that good, but I think on Saturday we put together a lot of things that we wanted to do.
I think it's interesting you mentioned Ben Elliott being found a lot, because I think he had the assist for the Savage goal. Coming out, from obviously he won his physical battle away from the Charlton player, but then managed to put the ball forward. But I wanted to pick up too on what you said, sir, about the fullbacks. For me, Michael Craig has been outstanding so far this season. Did you, before this summer, had you sort of considered him in the right back position? Had he played right back before? How did you guys come to the decision that he could do that and do it as well as he's been doing it?
Well, I would like to tell you that we work really hard, and we know that the players played before, and putting myself in a big space. No, the reality is that we have Kelvin Abrefa because Andy Gidomis has been injured almost since the last part of last season. So now it's going to be 5 months out.
Right.
Kelvin Abrefa was our option into the right back position. But Kelvin got injured, one small injury, muscle injury, typical of pre-season. So we decided to use Tibonge Rusesa in that position. And Tibonge Rusesa also got a small injury in that position. So I had a day off. I was here. I live in Winchester, so I was working in my day off, and I got a message from Michael Craigie, and he asked me if he can speak with me. And I'm quite open with them. So we had a good chat, and he told me, listen, I just called you because I think you should know that in Tottenham Academy I play as a right back. I know the position. I think I can play there, and if you need me anytime, I'm ready to do it. So then we will have because in the past we have been using centre backs in the position as a fullback, and Gerald Dorset is a good fullback for us, but is a centre back. But in the right with Tyler or with Amadou, it worked, but it was not consistent before. Their position is much better in central spaces. Right. So we start modifying some trainings for Michael to go into the right. We found it interesting. He can cope with the situations when I was one defensively, but it's a very big thing. He can cope with the crosses when he is the ball away, what we call the ball away fullback, but it's also very important in that position. He saved a couple of situations last game against Charlton. And the main thing is that he understands the game in possession, and he understands the game fully. He has a good brain for football. Yeah. So and from the very beginning, he adjusts to the position. He started to play well. I think one of the hardest tests that you can have this year is League One. That game again is Birmingham in League One. So that the two wingers that he played against, he almost dominated the action, and to the position as much as he's performing and acting like he is doing. The other ones need to work really hard to take the position from him.
Yeah. I totally agree. That's awesome. Ben, you go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, it's been a masterstroke having him there, and it's quite interesting that he said to you, "Look, I can play there. Like I can do that job." So that's pretty cool.
We have a very open relation with the players. They know what we want, and they know how we want it. And they are more than welcome always to come with their ideas, and as much as it's their ideas, and we put together, and the ideas are making a good match of what we want to do. We analyze, and then of course we don't have all the knowledge in the world, and what we want is a team that feels very comfortable on the pitch and can compete. And Michael coming with that is absolutely it's a great example of ownership. About this is me putting myself for the team. I know I'm a better six than fullback, but I can do the job. If you want to consider me, I will do absolutely everything to play and to be in the lineup. And that's and he developed in a really good fullback for us.
Yeah, I think I wrote in my ratings this week about Dorsex. It's funny that you mentioned him having started as a center back, but he's been playing fullback now for what feels like about a season almost, really.
Yes.
And I think I wrote, like, I wonder if he's ever going to go back to center back under Ruben, because he's so good, in that fullback role. And he's really developed as a fullback as well as just as a defender overall.
We try to have always a main position for a player, and then a secondary, and even after a number third position for them, because with having 18 players only in our list for the squad, you need to be able to manage those players in different positions. We think those Jerel can play as a fullback, but since we got him as a left back, he absolutely minimized the successful dribbling for the opposition wingers when he played in that space, or wing backs. He is very good just blocking crosses and defending those situations. In possession, he's starting to understand. He's understanding better and better the game in possession, arriving, making the overlaps, but also in the early build-up, moving into central spaces. And never forget that the set plays are really important in League One.
Yeah.
And having a fullback that is that powerful heading the ball in the aerial duels is just a plus for the team. So his main position is that position. He can play as a center back. Let's see how the season goes. But for us, I think he has one of the biggest point percentage every time he starts or if he plays in the lineup in the team. So that's not casual.
Right. Yeah. Totally agree.
I mean, long may it continue. Really, obviously the block of games that we've had, all the players have been exceptional. Really, obviously a bit of a blip in the middle with Wrexham, but if you look at that first month that we've just completed in terms of August, and the level of the games that we had, we said on the pod, and I think a lot of fans were like, that's a really, really difficult start. What was your kind of target and expectation for those first 4 games that we've just completed in the league? And are we kind of where you imagined us to be or wanted us to be, coming into this first international break?
Well, listen, I just think my experience in Reading, and I think the experience in Reading changed my experience in life, is just to take one day at a time. So first of all, our philosophy is always to try to win every single match, and this is how we prepare it. It doesn't matter where we play, but that allow us to go into any place, to go to play Birmingham, to go to play Ipswich last season or whoever was the team, and try to beat them. The second thing is just try to be proactive in the game, so don't sit and wait. Some people call it naive. We call it proactive. So we just try to go for the game, and as hard as possible, as high as possible, with the best football that we can, being energetic, with high speed, high tempo energy. So all that we wanted is to move the feelings and the feeling that we created during the pre-season and almost the last 6-8 months of the last season, to put it into the pre-season, and then we wanted that to go straight into the season. That's the most difficult thing, because everyone can do things without the pressure. But when you're playing for 3 points, when you concede a goal and that goal becoming a 0 points, or you don't qualify for the next round, that is when the team can change behavior. But because we have the same behavior no matter the game that we play, if it's a preparation match or it's a cup game or it's a League One game, we wanted to move really that dynamic into the league. I think the first game against Birmingham, we almost deserved the 3 points. We were truly ourselves. It was a difficult game, but we played. And once we moved that, and we can compete against anybody, I think all of us just went like, okay, let's do it again, and let's do it again. And our target really is just to perform and perform and perform and compete, and then let's see where we are, because we all know that our main target and for the season, with all the things that are going on around the team, is just to get the 50 points and to keep the team in the League One more year. That is mandatory for the club to survive, as it was last year. We did it, and hopefully we will do it. And then let's see what else we can do. But the main target is just to prepare, compete, review, prepare, compete, review, and be the best version that we can be every day. And really, it sounds like a philosophical thing, but really, if you and you know our context, really, that's what we need to do, because things change that much around us every single day, that if we take the focus away from that and we focus in the football and we can do today, that is how we can be successful.
Yeah, Yeah, definitely. I think that's a great way to think about it. You don't know what's going to happen in the week, so just keep pushing every day that you're playing. I want to talk about it. We kind of already started talking about some individual players. So I thought we'd veer into that a little bit. Sam Smith, great return to Reading for him last year. Obviously, scored a lot of goals, and I think that not having him in the team at the start of last season seemed like one of the real issues with just getting going at the start of the season. Since then, he's been great. He's been consistent. I'd say, and please tell me if I'm wrong here, it feels like his role, certainly out of possession, is a little bit different this season. Can you tell us a little bit about how his role has evolved over your time with the club?
Yeah, well, as you know, last season when he joined us, he was a free agent, a couple of months without, I think it was 3 months without training. And then almost immediately after he joined us, he picked an injury, took him out at least around 2.5 months.
Yeah.
As you know, I don't like to make excuses. I think we had a group that was competing. We won a couple of games. I remember that Bolton game that we beat them 2-1 at home.
Yep.
We also beat Cheltenham. So in that moment was some different circumstances. I don't think it was really because Sam was in or out of the team. I think some others. I remember we were playing with Kelvin and Kylan Vickers as two strikers in that moment. I think we went into an evolution where we had that period where we didn't win football matches. We missed some key moments. We conceded some late goals, and we had all the noise around us. And yes, of course, Sam coming back to the team in that period. Remember, he came back against Charlton. We lost 4-0 away in a game that after 55 minutes we should be leading. He came back and not being fully ready in the moment, and since he took the team, I think Sam has been one of the best strikers in the category for the last couple of years. And I think his performance is really important. Not only the way he scored goals, also the way that it's dominant with the center backs, the way that he can hold the ball but also can run the space. And he has been growing with the team. He has started the season now with a couple of small injuries that keep him away a little bit in the pre-season from the team. But he has shown his level, and I think he's in a good moment right now to deliver a lot of good performances for the team. And yeah, we have been modifying a little bit the position of the 9 because we detected that many times when you play against a team that are a little bit more direct, like Charlton, for example, in the weekend, a lot of times it's about how we press the action, but it's also about how we read the second ball. That's why we try to play with the line as high as possible, but that's also why we try to keep our number 9 around the midfielder position, because if the action goes over our first line for the second ball, that usually is our 6, our 2 number 8s, we need a player to compete with their number 6 or their number 6s. And if we can with that second action, we always find our wingers higher. So we end up being in some kind of 4-4-2 diamond shape,
right,
with the wingers applying the pressure, and we can always jump to the wing back or to the wide centre back if that's the case. But that will be in the second ball, second action. So that's where Sam and Jadon, when he plays as a striker, are helping us a lot. It's a figure that we call ball thief, because it's not only for the long balls, it's also for when the ball goes into the wide channel and then come back to the center to the number 6. Or usually the striker is higher and is not involved in that pressure, but having him coming from what we call the blind side, so the 6 cannot detect who is around him in that section, he wins a lot of balls and can set up a lot of transitions. So that's what we are trying to do.
I love that. The mention of the blind side too. I last season with my U14s, I showed them clips of Harvey Nibbs winning the ball on the blind side to try and show them, how he do that. So both of them really good players in that regard.
Really, we try to go into the details. So we have our main philosophy and how we do things. Obviously, we have been adapting and adjusting with the time, with the league, with the players that are available. But we, in terms of now in possession, and we started with against the ball, we have a lot of micro details that really, I think every player accept really well, and they try to understand. Is sometimes the terminology or the detail is a little bit difficult for them, especially when they join. But once they start to understand it and what does it mean, or some end up, we call the ball thief, and every time we call ball thief, we don't even need to say, Sam, you need to be in that position coming from that sport. He just know what is the role that he needs to do right now.
Yeah. A ball thief. That's a great way to put it. That's a great way to put it.
It's
Ben, you go ahead.
interesting because my son is he's a striker. He's 9. He actually plays number 9 for his team as well. And I say to him about trying to think about what you're doing off the ball, and you might only get sort of 4 or 5 touches in a game, but always make those count in terms of trying to get shots off and things like that. And I was really pleased for Sam on Saturday when he scored, because I felt going into the Charlton game he just needed a goal, and obviously the ball from Akande was fantastic, but the finish was exceptional. I think it's we're slightly biased as Reading fans because we think all our players are fantastic and we love them and all the rest of it. But the point you made about him being incredibly competitive in League One, and how much that impacted on us kind of early on last season as well is a really interesting point. So we're really, really pleased, as I'm sure you are as well, really, because he's a very, very good player for us, from a fan's point of view anyway. So yeah.
Absolutely, and it's also a player coming through the academy and reaching the first team, needing to go to another club to come back. So I think it's a history, and that's what we are building, really, that ownership. And Sam has that ownership inside himself. I want to do well for the club, well for the people around the club, for the fans. So I think it's as much as we can have players that really feel that emotion inside, I think they always will give us this extra percentage of belonging that you always need.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. Yeah, because I was going to build on to kind of what you were saying about how, you give instructions to each of the players as they come through. And it seems to me like even when you've had to rotate players so far this season, so Kamara's come in, obviously, and then Akande's come in, everyone's known their roles really effectively right from the start. But I think what you're saying about, that little Reading connection with being part of the academy or something like that also like pushes them to play well, put in that extra effort. But when you've got, a squad of young players and you have managed to produce, pretty consistent set of performances in terms of what their roles are and how they interpret them, do you find it easier to coach with the younger group, do you think? Are there some blessings as well as, I'm sure you'd like to add to your squad if you could, but is working with a younger team also a blessing kind of?
Yeah, I think the young concept is sometimes is tricky because we talk about our own academy players being young, but we also talk about Chem Campbell joining us being young. So and we sometimes don't give that much credit to our boys as we with the players that are coming from other teams to our team. So I think I don't think every academy player can make into the first team because it's the percentage is saying that it doesn't happen. So we just need to when we just try to recruit, and unfortunately now it's a little bit more limited. What we try to do is to have players that has still a lot of areas to improve and that they are energetic to cope with the style of play that we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
On that, we have a great academy that is providing us with a very good players, with a very good understanding. Noel is doing a fantastic job with the under 21s and so on, so on. We have Andre now that is 16 years old and never played under 21 football and jump straight into our squad. What we try to do really is from day zero that they join us or we detect that they can join us, is just to stress them in the trainings and giving them a platform where this is what we do, this is how we do it, and from that you need to express yourself and be the best version of yourself that you can be, because obviously Adrian Akenji will never be like Femi Assis, or Kelvin will never be as any other winger or Paul Mukaro that we play in the position last year sometimes. But it has some basics that they need to do, non-negotiables, and from that they can express their position in the way that they want. Kelvin will be more a one against one, trying to find the situation in the box, trying to finish the action. Femi was more about finding the space just to finish the action. Every one of them, they know they need to press hard and work hard for the team and make a lot of high speed actions, because that's what we demand when we defend, but also when we attack. But in that system that we believe is a system that is a chaotic system, but some kind of organization, what we call the organized chaos, knowing the basics and the non-negotiables, they can become better in what they do. So I think actually it's more simple to come to the first team and play in a good level because the system is so stable right now
Yeah.
that when you change one or two positions, the other ones are just helping to adjust really quick the new players or the players that are rotating in that position. And of course, they need to have some qualities and abilities themselves, but we have plenty of it with the academy players. So I
Definitely.
don't think it's a difficult thing. We create the platform and then they try to be the best version of themselves.
With that in mind, then so you mentioned. Sorry, Ben's raring to ask you about the midfield, which we're going to do any second now because it's his favorite thing. But I just wanted to ask because you mentioned him. What is it about Chem Campbell that excites you, and what do you think he's going to bring to the team?
Well, I think when so as you know, we have been in a quite unique situation just to recruit players.
To say the
But
least, yeah, to say the
with
least.
we scout Chem, we have Chem in our list, and we wanted to bring him early in the season, but obviously he has been waiting. He has been training with the Wolves. We have him ready for weeks until that happened. So what we see in Chem is a young and energetic players that he has a good situations 1-against-1. I think his first loan at Wycombe it was determinant in the way that he played, in the way that he scored goals, arrive to the box, make the dribbles, make the 1-against-1, but with a lot of capabilities against the ball that can be improved. I think his loans in Charlton and Wycombe didn't show exactly the player that he is. I think the best thing he did last season for Wycombe was that penalty that he got against Clinton Mola against us. And we see a player that can really give us a different version from the winger position, from the right winger or left winger position, but a player that can suit in our style. And we see also a character that can suit our dressing room. And I think that's also very important.
Nice. I completely forgot about that penalty against Mola until you mention it. Now, the managers, man, the steel trap brain, they can pick out any part of any game.
Well, again, I would like to tell you that yes, but no. When I do my homework and watch a player that we are interested, I try to see all the actions from the games, actions, and one of the main actions was that action. So it was actually there.
That's fair. Y Scout sometimes is cruel. It just shows
Correct.
you that right away. Yeah.
Correct.
Oh man.
I mean, talking of sticking on the youth element, we've obviously got an incredible amount of young players at the moment that are really, in my opinion, playing beyond their years really, and that's none more evident than in midfield. Personally, some of my favourite players there, Charlie Savage, Harvey Nibbs, are two of my top players in the team at the moment. Personally, how difficult is it to keep them all motivated when there is so much depth in the squad and vying for positions? Because obviously Charlie Savage has scored a number of goals this season. Harvey Nibbs has been out injured, so that there's a problem to solve when he comes back in. Ben Elliott, as you said earlier, has been a great outlet for us in terms of the attacking sense, and obviously Lewis Wing and Ross will come on to him later on. But how do you keep instilling that ethos in them and keep motivating them and kind of getting them to do what you want to do within the team in the midfield?
Well, obviously, it's not a perfect scenario. They're not happy when they don't play, but that's a good problem to have because that means they care about their job, they care about the team, they care about what they do, and they feel that they should be starting every single. And to be fair with them, they work hard and they put everything they can. So it's my decision to take the lineup. Sometimes the lineup is because of the players are playing well, the connections between the players is always a good factor that people forget.
Yeah.
But there is some players that play better with some other players. Sometimes because a player is not really engaging in trainings or doing their best in their trainings, so it's not about the level. The other ones are really good. It's about him is not being the best that he can be. But I like that competition. I think they have been mature enough. Obviously, we don't live in the paradise, so people that are not playing, they get disappointed. If they get disappointed and they don't play for 2-3 weeks, they come to your office, you try to explain. People never really like to hear that someone is playing because in this moment is better than you. But we try to do it in the most honest and direct way that we can do. And it's always, and I think football changed that quick and we have that amount of games that when they realize that's actually true. They start to understand, because obviously any one of them, like myself or any other, we make the mistakes in the past, and then you miss some information, then you miss something that can be important. But as soon as you realize something changed, I need to be ready, then immediately they are ready, they get the messages, they make it better. And then there is always a component that we try to educate them. That is about when we try to work in a game plan. What is the most difficult situation? When you see yourself out of the team. But when we try to work in a game plan, sometimes we have a game plan in the beginning of the game and a modification variation in the second half. So sometimes we may need your energy, you may need your finishing from the edge of the box, we may need your counter pressure, you will need your set pieces action just to close the game at the end, or that's what we think when we create the game plan. So it's not easy to keep the motivation in the players that are not playing, but we try to explain and give them all the tools just to keep themselves ready for when the moment will come.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we've noticed, and obviously at the moment, from our point of view as fans, it is working. You know, it was great to see, the way that Savage played on Saturday, and obviously, I think it's the third goal of the season or whatever. Again, the same way that kind of Lewis Wing and Ross is going to get onto in a minute, because Ross is a very big fan of Wingy, shall we say, put it that way. But the way that they kind of cohesively play as a unit has been one of the positives over the last calendar year, really, in terms of the upturn in form. And it's really nice to see that, because previously at the club we might have had one player or two players that were all right in those positions, but actually having that amount, Kamara, we haven't really touched upon. He's involved in that mix as well. So there are so many options there for you, and it looks like, I know we're kind of thin everywhere else in the squad, but it looks like central midfield and those positions are fairly well stocked at the moment, which is a blessing for us at the moment as a football club, I'd say. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. I think the center of the pitch is one of the most strongest areas. I think all the players has been growing too much in the last season and this month. So when we started with Charlie coming from Manchester United, he always had 6 months in Forest Green, playing a little bit away from position. Ben came in from Chelsea, first experience there with us. Lewis Wing playing a little bit more advanced when he came to us. Michael Craggy not consistently being in the first team. Harvey Nives was a winger, and he came as a winger. So that modification, all this, they have been growing, developing, and really, I think it's a mix between how much they want to succeed with the team, but also us playing the style of football that they can enjoy and play, and where they can show that they are really good players. It will not work for us if with all those players or that talented players, energetic, we just sit in a low block in a 5-4-1 defending and going to the transition. So I think they have developed themselves into be a very strong core in the team. But I think we also help them to create a platform. So I would say it's a teamwork, because it really, and if you see the relation that they have with each other, you will understand that.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I've been really impressed by this season, so obviously Lewis Wing last year, I think he scored, I think it was the most goals outside of the box of any EFL player, maybe even any Prem player last year too.
Yes, correct.
So outstanding contribution, shooting from the outside of the box. But this year, to me at least, and again, please tell me if I'm wrong, it seems like he's a little more reserved in the build-up. He is arriving occasionally on the outside of the box. Obviously, he crossed the ball. He crossed the ball maybe in a preseason game, or he's got one assist at least this season. But has there been an effort to move Wing a little bit further back to have him more involved in the build-up this year? Has anything within his role changed at all? Obviously, not asking you to tell our opponents what it is that one of our best players is doing during a game.
No. We decided to make that variation at home against Lincoln last season in the second game, playing him as a 6 and introducing Ben as an 8, and I think it worked really well. I think he has his manipulation of the ball is fantastic, and the way that he can dictate our game. with the ball, but also when we are in possession and he's moving the opposition to create the spaces for us, because now the position is coming and man marking him in a lot of occasions.
Yeah.
So it's not only about that, it's about how he creates the spaces for us. His ability to find players and spaces in long distance passes is really, really good, and
Mhm.
he can dominate the game from that position as a six. So it was a little bit at the end of the last season.
Yeah.
He's naturally becoming less close to the opposition goal, but we are working with him to create the spaces for him to arrive also. I don't think that is something that is going to come, because one thing we don't want to lose is to have a Wingy around the opposition box, because we know what he can do. He can make an assist, he can make a finish, he can make a dribbling. We
Right.
are just adjusting, and I think right now we have a really good balance. But we can be a little bit more aggressive also in the final third,
Yeah.
arriving with our six into those spaces.
I think it's nice having a player like Charlie Savage, who can also shoot really effectively from the outside of the box, alongside Wing, so that if Wing doesn't get into those spaces during the game, well, maybe Charlie will get there as well. You've got players who can fill these different roles really well. And I also like with Michael Craig, playing in that right back spot now, it feels like he is in, you talked about connections between the players being really important, and it feels like Wing and Craig are together on the field quite a bit. They obviously had that time when they played in central midfield together last season, and I think that central midfield was really, really important to Reading, just playing some great football since last November. So yeah, I think it's working either way around. Obviously, though, if you're saying we're going to get Wing closer and he's going to shoot, later this season, that's also exciting. Yeah, definitely. So, question for you. We know you as this sort of like, you want to be proactive in games. You don't want to wait for the opposition. We think of you as this pressing, high pressing manager. But I also think that we have, a very solid defense. We've only let in open play goals against one team so far this season. And so for you as a manager, how do you marry, a high press with also being defensively solid and being, ready to defend at the back if the opposition get through your press?
For me, it's exactly the same. So why do we press? We press to score goals. That's why we do it. We press as high as possible to score goals, to force mistakes that allow us to score goals. We try to press with a lot of players, so every time we win the ball, we just play forward. But we also try to press to limit the options to our oppositions. So we just believe that the highest we play, the highest we press, the less situations we will concede in our back. And we know with that, it becomes the action of sometimes getting situations 1-on-1, 50 meters. Tyler Rindo had one against Charlton, I think it was minute 20-25, out of nowhere for them. Yeah. And that's why we request our defenders to defend those 1-on-1 situations. And I think that, and we have the defenders that can do that. That's why we play with Amadou, that's why we play with Tyler, that's why we play with the defenders that can be really quick in those big spaces. So we believe that doing that, being proactive, being a high press, we can score goals, but we can also minimize the impact of the opposition in our own box. And that is the first thing. The second thing that we have been doing also this season is just to defend with 11 players and be very, very solid in the center. So if you see now the position you told before with Sam Smith, if you see now our position in the low block when we need to protect our goal, Sam Smith is almost in the edge of our box, right, or around their six, because he's closing those spaces where we usually will have a striker hanging or waiting for the transition. We make some short transitions to take the spaces with our wingers, but our nine needs to be on, because that allows us to be more compact, more solid, to be better into what we call the wide triangles defending, mainly the crosses, because there's goals in the League One come mainly because of those crosses. Being more proactive, having more players, being a little bit earlier into the challenge, being aggressive, and that minimizes the situations for the opponents. Again, for example, against Wrexham, I think we controlled the first part of the game. We dominate the crosses because we didn't allow them to cross in the first part of the game, but it was just an action where we concede in the second cross, we concede the goal, and we lost a little bit of the tempo. The rest of the games, we have been consistent in what we do, and we minimize. If you see the XG that we concede to the opposition, you will see a team that concedes really few chances per game, and if we concede the chances, Joel and Canalla also in the cover. They are doing a really good job.
Definitely.
So it's a little bit of teamwork, but how the personnel is developing the idea.
Yeah.
I mean, talking of that teamwork and moving on a little bit, really, you made reference to a couple of games last season. And, I have to be honest with you, Ruben, around sort of, November time, I was very adamant in my mind that we needed a change at the club, really, and it wasn't working for anybody involved in the stands, as you saw on the pitch and everything else. How wrong was I? Because, since then, you and the club and on the pitch have just kicked on, and it's been an absolute joy to watch. From your point of view, was there a point last year where you thought, A, this wasn't for me, and B, in terms of the changes that you implemented, what was the one thing that you said had the biggest impact in our kind of upturn in form?
Well, I think in the very beginning we started with the 4-2-2 and we tried to make it work. But what was obvious that, and we win a couple of games. I think the first time we start to lose points with the points deduction, it hit us a little bit hard. And obviously we can talk only about football, but sometimes it's just actually, especially with that kind of team that we have in that moment, it was a lot of noise because really everyone part of this project we were promised or we were coming to the club to have a different reality that we found really quick. Taking that apart, we will say that the Shrewsbury game, when we lose the game, being in front of the game, and we concede 2 late goals in the set plays. After that game, actually, I have a deep reflection about, okay, what are we doing? How can we do it? How we can adapt ourselves and adjust ourselves to continue doing the things that we wanted to do? Because I'm a coach, as you said before, I want to go into the high press. I want to be proactive. So I don't want to lose what I am or what I want to be. But I can adjust and I need to adjust. Otherwise, we will not finish the season. And you are conscious that any other one that if you don't win football matches, that happens. I think after that, we play against Portsmouth. We have a decent game in the first 30 minutes, but then we concede a goal straight before the halftime. And then with the 2-3, we can score, but we never equalize. But it was a change of something in the team. We moved the structure for the 4-2-2 to the 4-2-3-1. We were trying to find these 3 midfielders. And I think when we arrived into that Wycombe game, that was the real change on us. So we decided to go with a clear dressing room, a clear group of players, a clear way to do things. And since that day, we have been developing that idea. That it was already there in terms of what we wanted to do, but with the form of 3 midfielders, making some adjustments into the last line, into the pressure, etc. I think that was the Wycombe game was the key, but that Shrewsbury period between Shrewsbury and Wycombe, it can be the most difficult period that we had.
And just picking up on that point about Wycombe, how special was that? Because being in that very small, well, I say makeshift. It's not a makeshift stand, but it's not the best facilities off the pitch at Wycombe. I'll be honest with you, Ruben. Being in that stand was incredible as a fan, given where we'd been. The previous sort of 2, 3, 4 months. How special was that for you and the players to get that that away win that was so elusive for so long?
I think it was like now it was like more than it was a big celebration there with the players after all the suffer. It was, but for us and for me, it was like now. I must say that when you put it, so when you arrive there, you don't try to overthink about things, but when I analyze from the very first moment that we arrive into that dressing room, the music that they play, the way that they talk to each other, you say that's what we want. We can lose football matches, but that's exactly what we want. That's exactly the kind of spirit that we want. And it was some factors there that when we finished the game, we say, let's say, okay, what happened here? Who was playing the music? Who more the football side, yes, but who was talking with who? Who was acting? Remember, we have a really bad injury for Dom Ballard in that game, and Dom was doing fantastic in that game in those first 30 minutes. So Paul came in, he did a fantastic job. We went to the 2-1. We end up with Charlie Savage as a winger and Matty Carlson as a left winger just to close the game and they managed the game amazing. So everything, and we took that and we say, okay, this is the core that we have. Not only the football side in the football, I don't know if you remember, but we tried to have the line from the free kicks that the goalkeeper took some free kicks really high on the pitch. Tried to have the line really high, so it was almost a race between them and us to arrive first into our box, and it was many times in offside. So a lot of things that we did that day that we were extreme. So we actually did it. We went more into what we want to be than more into a protective mode to be low. That game really changed the culture of saying, yeah, we can win football matches. Yeah, we can do it, and we can do it together.
I mean, talking of highlights from last season, obviously the Wycombe game was one. You know, we did fantastic upturn in form since then, and it's kind of carried on into this season, really. So, as I said previously, credit to you and the players, and obviously his staff, because it's been, you know, great for us fans. You know, you don't want to hear sob stories because we know we imagine it's been incredibly difficult for you at the club, but for fans, it's been a real hard slog in recent years. So, what you've brought to the club and the town has been phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And one of the things that we all saw last season was what was essentially a viral video of you dancing on the coach on the way back from the game. How much convincing did you need to A, do that, and B, get filmed doing it?
No, listen, it was at one point we were 10 points away from being out of the relegation, and everyone looked impossible. And I still in those moments say, yeah, I think we can do it, because I really think that we have a good group of players, and I think we have the connection. So no, it was easy. I know the character of the players, and I know the togetherness that they have. So when they came to that coach and asked me to do it, yes, I do it. Everyone has the part of it, and it's also my part. And it didn't take too long to convince me, as but obviously my video went a little bit more outside, because I think Amadou also is the one that is posting absolutely everything about us. So
Yeah.
no, really, we create an environment that is pretty safe, where we can just talk about everything, knowing what are the rules and the ways that we want to do things. If you speak with a player or a member of technical staff, I hope they will tell you that. So it's also a place where you can express yourself. I'm not a dancing man, but if we just keep the team after the season that we had, and the team has been suffering that much, and they are in a good mode, and that's what, then we do it, no problem.
I think we asked James for this too, so I've got to ask you: do you have like a favorite Amadou and Benge story of a mental moment from Amadou? Because he is one of the most wonderful Reading players to watch. I mean, he's great on the pitch, but like he is box office off the pitch as well. Are there any favorite moments that come to mind?
No, I can, again, we're gonna speak 1 hour about Amadou, but yeah, I think it's much better for you to interview him one day and tell him to tell you about all his histories. The only thing we will say is that it's delightful to have Amadou in our team. I think he's a different character. I think I quite like that we are able to create an environment when everyone can express themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have that quite unique character in Amadou, and he is able to express himself, I think his football, the way he expresses it, is also the way he lives, and that makes us better. Not only with Amadou or some other, the way that Tyler acts, or the way it's just different, but everyone can express themselves in the same place. So I think that says a lot of the Reading that we all have created in the last year.
Yeah, definitely. All right,
we'll add him to our list anyway to ask in terms of getting him on, because he does seem like a real character, and you know, you're the second person that's told us that. So we'll try and get him onto the pod at some point.
You need to do
it. So let's move away from Reading for a little bit. Let's move away from the players. Let's talk about you a little bit. You have obviously had a really interesting coaching career so far. You've been coaching since the age of 16, which is incredible. Can you tell us a little bit about some of your previous coaching roles? Any key ones that stand out? I have a feeling Valencia might be in there, with it obviously being part of your family's culture. But yeah, can you tell us about any particular countries or roles that really were important for you?
Yes, as you said, I started with 16. It was quite a natural role for us in our neighborhood, just to play for the team, but also start to coach the young ones when you were 16. So for me, it was quite natural to start there. I did it for a couple of years. Then I went to the university to study physical science and the sport with football as a main subject, and joined the university team, and really it was like at some point you recognize that you're not gonna be good enough to be a professional player, and you want to be the closest man to that
Yeah.
football pitch. So that's why I tried to move into the football side, getting first of all my bachelor in physical science and sport with football, but also getting my UEFA licenses there. And it was pretty quick when Kike Hernandez needed a fourth assistant in Aris Thessaloniki in Greece in the first in the top tier, and I joined him. And since that was 2008. It has been 16 years now working in different clubs. My experiences, even when I worked in Valencia and Villarreal with the academy, was a good experience. But what I really tried to do in those moments was to prepare them for what I know is the professional football. And I think it's quite of the same that we are doing right now here at Reading. Prepare them for what it is, the real football. Stress them into situations that usually when you are a member of and you are playing for the academy, you are playing like in possession football or not
Yeah.
too much into the against the ball. So really putting those things together. I remember that team in Valencia when we took it the under 18 some years ago. I was only there for 6 months, 4 months of competition, and I think we conceded one goal in 15 games, something like that. So that team was really, really good on that. But I had a lot of different experience, different roles. I started in football as a assistant manager, assistant coach, fitness coach, and then I evolved into the role of the assistant coach, and then always with the eye to be a main manager. I think I learned a lot from the different coaches that I worked with. I always say that one of the managers that I learned the most is Gurban Gurbanov in Karabakh. I think he has been now 16 years there. He will play against Tottenham next month
Yep.
in West Carolina. With Gurban, understand modern football better than many other coaches that I worked with. Have a method, has a system, has a way to work and act with the players. That was the first, I would say, the first big manager I worked with, and I learned from him. And then really Denmark has been a country that has shown me a lot as a person in terms of managing big organization. First in AGF with David, and then my second experience in Copenhagen, a big club with a big
Yeah.
aspirations, and turning it around, winning the league in the second year we were there. And then allowing me to come to England, to the Premier League, because of that work, to Southampton. And one of the best things that happened for me in Southampton was to meet with Rafa Hasenhüttl and
Yeah.
finally get my philosophy complete with that high pressure philosophy of high pressure methods against the ball. So that has been like the big part of my journey, and my family, of course, that they have been always with me.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
We have the go ahead. Oh no, I was going to say sorry. I'm from Southampton, Ruben, and most of my family are Southampton fans. So we became acquainted with you a little bit before you joined Reading. So I was pretty happy when you joined. You know that we managed to get you just a year after joining Southampton. So yeah.
Yeah, it was Southampton for me was a great experience. I never came to Southampton thinking about end up as a manager in
Right.
that short period of time. I came to support Ralph. The club decided to change him when we didn't work that bad in that moment. I had that game against Sheffield Wednesday. It was a great experience. We managed, and then after when Nathan came and we didn't have the results that the club wanted, we had that moment to be interim for me to be interim manager. But I think we did an extraordinary job against Chelsea. First
Yeah,
6 games were really
definitely.
we were really powerful, but it was a difficult task. And then I think at the end it got a little bit flat because a lot of many situations. But I think we were competitive in most of the games that we played.
Yeah, you pushed Arsenal pretty hard as well, from what I remember at the Emirates as well. So, yeah, hopefully one day back in that Premier League, but not in a different postcode. For
I mean, talking of, mentioned some managers and coaches there. Are there are there ones outside of Reading that you talk to regularly in terms of advice? On the pitch stuff, off the pitch stuff. Do you have like like a network of managers and coaches that you talk to either in this country or still working abroad, perhaps?
Yeah, I have um I quite think that now I have a good connection with a lot of managers. Not specifically you talk and get any advice about anything. It's more about knowledge and want to know how they do things. I always like to talk with other coaches to see the experiences, to see how they do things. I have a good connection
Yeah.
with Rafa Benitez, for example, and I love to speak with him about the stuff. And I even wanted more. I was in a I was in a course last week with the LMA when I was with Gareth Southgate and Ole Gunnar
Oh wow.
Solskjaer in others, and to change those kind of impressions and how you do things. And it's always good because they have a lot of knowledge, and not necessarily tactical knowledge about how to manage situations that happen to you, and be sure that those situations are going to happen for you to you in one moment of your coaching career, so you can have the experiences from them and then analyze what they tell you or what is the reflection, because sometimes the reflection, that's what I do, is that's what I did that didn't work, so next
Right.
time that happens we'll do. And I like to use that as much as other people is calling me to use my advice about things. So it's kind of good feeling. It's not a mentorship or something similar. It's more a good relationship when you can
Yeah.
share things and you can get some knowledge from people that really know about it.
It's weird because in all my other like roles that I've had as a professional, I haven't really been like the networking type. But as soon as I got into coaching, immediately networking, just meeting different people and learning, like you said, just from little things that they do. Like maybe I don't want to run my session exactly like theirs, but they've got tidbits in there or things that we can take. It's really
It's
cool.
always a little bit tricky because usually you get it with the ones that are not playing against you.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
is that is actually true. So because nobody likes to lose, and nobody likes to give any advice to somebody that can beat you the next match, or even in a preparation match and a friendly match that happens. So
yeah.
it's a little bit of usually with the ones that you talk, you are not competing directly against them.
Right. That makes sense. That makes sense.
I mean,
So
it's
go
obviously
ahead,
a
man.
high pressure one in terms of the way the club is anyway at the moment. But football in general is a bit of a pressure cooker, and the manager of the life or the life of manager is pretty intense, I'd imagine, in terms of getting results and constantly kind of being busy and on that treadmill. What do you do to unwind away from football? Obviously, you mentioned you live in Winchester. But have you had a chance to see much of Reading as an area? Have you been able to kind of go out, mingle with people, and kind of what do you do just to kind of ground yourself away from the game itself, really?
Yeah, so yeah, of course, I have been in Winchester and Reading, sorry, many times. The reason why I live in Winchester is because we moved to Southampton two
Right.
years ago. The kids are in the school, and I didn't want to move them again. They have been moving a lot in the last 10 years, and it was kind of an agreement with them that they can continue with their school, with their friends. Now it's going to be the third year, so it's more stable. And for me, that's the most important thing. So because out of football, what I really like, I really like my training sessions, but I do it at the training ground with the technical
Mm,
staff. We have some, James can tell you, maybe the next time when you speak with him, we have kind of good competition with foot tennis and when we finish our day.
okay.
So we always kind of finish our day making a good workout and a good training session for us, mainly with some of the members of the technical staff. That relieve a lot of stress or a lot of situations in the day that you just feel like for 30, 40, 50 minutes, you just put it out, don't think about football, take a shower, come back home, and then enjoy with the family for 2, 3 hours. That is really what we do. And then mainly when I have time, just come with them immediately because, as you say, I go out from home at 6:15 in the morning. Usually come 7:30, 8 o'clock in the evening. So there is not much time for them. So all the time that I have, I just try to give it to them and join them in what they do. My wife is traveling a lot to work in Spain and coming back. So if I'm here, I'm with the kids. Now it's a little bit more grow up. The small one is playing football. The bigger one likes to do different stuff. So try to have a lot of time with them. What is really important for me.
last few for you then, Ruben, because we're conscious we kept you talking for a long time. Obviously we talked and we touched upon, the difficulties of last year and coming through the other side of that. How do you feel your relationship with the fans has kind of evolved over time? And are you aware that pretty much every Reading fan thinks you're the best thing ever? Basically.
No, I never really like to think like that about myself. I'm the privileged to be the face of a really good technical staff that is just supporting this club, and a lot of people has gone through more difficult moments than myself in this football club. I'm just the face of that because of my position. I think the relation, of course, has been in the beginning. I think they didn't know much about me. Then when we didn't win that. The games, it was becoming difficult because obviously as a manager you need to win football matches, that's mandatory. But I think it was a period also that they start to realize the things that were going on in the football club, and they understand to have more context. They get more context of what I was really having in my daily preparation with the club, and I think it was more that than anything that it brings us a little bit together, and then obviously all the good performances that the boys put together. But I think it was very key that fans understood about the things that were going on, and they understood that the things were going on before the period that we start football matches, so they put some of the things on context.
Yeah, definitely.
It's been an evolution, and honestly, we're kind of almost wrapping up now, but what you've, as I said earlier, what you've been able to achieve, and what the players have been able to achieve with basically both hands tied behind your back and one eye covered has been quite incredible, really. And we deliberately haven't touched upon the off-field stuff as much because we can't really do anything about that. We just keep going, we keep supporting the team. You keep leaving the house at 6:15 every morning to do what you can for this football club. We're two idiots with microphones that talk about it every week on a podcast, and that's all we can do, really. So the main thing is just to keep going, and hopefully that it resolves resolves itself. Ross has got a question about something really exciting though, and I'm sure you're buzzing for this.
My last question today, Ruben. Reading under 21 versus Valencia under 21. January 21st, 2025. Yes. Will you be there? Will there be other Selles family members there?
I think, but I don't know how I would do it, because I need to get my son from Southampton to Reading, and I don't want to drive down and then back to Reading and then back again in the night. So, but yeah, for sure he would like to come to me. Yeah, I'm good relations with the people in Valencia. The first thing they did it was just texting me, "Yeah, we will be there 21st."
Amazing.
So, yeah, I will be there for sure, and I will be supporting our boys. I like to be in the matches as much as I can. Also with the under 18, if I'm not there, if we don't have a match, somebody from the technical staff is watching the games, and we are excited to have that international cup coming and all the good opponents that they have. It's going to be a difficult context for them, but it's going to make us better. Mm-hmm. And as much as we can, players like Andre and some others that have made their debut with the first team this season, if they're not playing in those moments for us, they will go and play those games also to get more international experience. So I think it's really big for the club. I think what they achieved last season was very impressive. And I think if we want to be a club that has a young, talented academy that bring players to the first team and bring players into the next levels of the English football, we need those games, and we need to continue helping, pushing, and supporting them. So yes, I will be there as a Reading fan, and hopefully we'll get a good result.
Love it.
No one will mind if you're in the corner of Club 1871 with your flares and the Spanish flag and everything else. No one will mind, Ruben. It's not a problem at all. You do what you feel is best for you and your family, so not a problem.
No, listen, we are fully Reading, as you can see, so that is always going to be like that. So, and I think we found a really deep connection with Reading that is not always easy to find with a club. So we are privileged now to work here and to work with the club. Hopefully more good things to come in the future. And as you say before, I wanted to make a comment about your last reflection. I think what brings us together is football, is the ball, is the feeling and the love for the game. Yeah. And I think that's more than the than the mindset or anything. That has been the really good thing behind this football team, and the group of players has been like they have been focused on the game, on the football, on the things that they can do with the ball, and I think that's what it brings the rest of it. So I'm pretty happy of what we have achieved on that, and hopefully we can get more to come.
Final question of the whole thing, and I I was in two minds of whether I was going to ask this. Someone in our group kind of flippantly said, because we have like a very small group for the Tilehurst End, and we didn't make this pod public at all. We just wanted to kind of talk to you, and then we'll release it sort of as a surprise, really. But he put this comment on, and I have to ask you on behalf of him, what aftershave do you wear?
I don't even know. No, not usually get aftershave. No, just get some perfume or anything like that. No, usually don't use it. Yeah.
Right. So Reading fans listen to this. We're gonna now send loads of aftershave to Ruben Selles.
Maybe we can get a sponsorship agreement with some good one.
Yeah, exactly.
and get some money for myself and the club. Then it can be better.
We
need to take that one. Maybe I will speak with Tim from the marketing department.
Yeah. Oh man!
Get on to them tomorrow. Say, look, I've had this really great idea. We could partner with an aftershave company, and it would be great.
I didn't expect that question at all.
Great.
So that's what I can say.
We try. Listen, we're going to let you go. This has been an absolute privilege. Before we do that, just massive thanks to the football club, to Tim and to Tom. Sounds like a terrible cover band, but they're not. They were really good in setting this up. We asked. Very simple process. You said yes, and it's been great. Honestly, it's been fantastic. We really hope that you listening have enjoyed it as well. Thank you to our sponsors, ZCZ Films, but mainly Ruben, to you for giving up your time for us today. Obviously busy. I know, as you said, you're not getting back till late in the evening, so to come and talk to us for an hour and a bit has been a real privilege for us. And really, really glad that you could come on and talk to us. So thank you so much for doing that. Not just for us, but for everyone all the 10 people that listen to our podcast, I guess. Really. So.
No, really, it has been my pleasure, and I think the club needs to give to the fans and the community and you, and it's good that also, and you ask question about what's going on about us in football. It's always really good to have those conversations, and I think we need to become a club that is open in those things. And as much as I have time to attend, or any member of the technical staff of the player, I think we should do it. And podcast like your podcast is just help to really show what we do and the persons that we are, and that we just really want the best for the club, the best for ourselves, but also the best for the club. And has been a really great hour for me.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. No, just thank you, Ruben, for the podcast and for the last season. It's been great. So yeah, awesome. Ben, you want to finish it off?
Yeah, why not? Let's do it. Ruben, thank you so much. Thank you to everyone for listening. We will be back in about a week's time with a normal pod, in inverted commas, just to wrap up the last 4 games really and kind of review where we are. Who knows? Maybe we'll get Ruben on later on in the season. I don't know. If he's already got that much, then maybe he will come back. But in the meantime,
let him talk to his family a little bit, Ben.
Yeah, exactly. I know, exactly. Thank you, everybody. Take care. Look after yourselves. We will see you again soon. And come on, you Ars.
Amazing.